let's talk about that's the staging, right?
Yeah.
And talk us through. Okay, are we referring more here now? Our ability to communicate more physically? Is it also verbally? Is it writing skills? What do we mean by staging?
It's a lot to do with how you communicate in front of an audience, regardless of the tool of communication. So let's start with the first one, which is speaking in front of an audience, or what we call as public speaking, right? Now, this skill, according to me, as I said earlier, has not changed in the last 10,000 years. Battles were won not on the size of the army, but how effective were the leaders in communicating the objective and motivating the soldiers, right? So this skill has not changed. Now, the fact remains that how you communicate in front of an audience is a very critical skill. Secondly, how you communicate on a video screen, because now people are only seeing 20-30% of your body. And the sense of touch and energy feel has also gone away. So you have to be much more energetic and enthusiastic on a screen. You have to maintain much more eye contact. You have to build engagement. If you switch off the camera, people tell me, oh, I'm not camera ready. And I always tell them, there are three elements to communication: visual, verbal, and vocal. And if you have taken away the visual, there is a problem because you've taken away one third of the impact. So focus on how you are appearing. Even the voice makes a difference. If you see in the last 5 years, in 2020, 21, 22, the winning sentences of the year were, "Can you hear me?" So clearly, voice has become a very critical element in communication. So it's voice, it's video, it's even an email. Are you crisp? Are you brief? Are you answering in bullet points? Do I have to pick up the phone to ask you what email have you written? Right? Also, is it so cryptic? Like sometimes people say, please action. And what am I supposed to action? Can you please highlight to me? Or then somebody will write a 200-word mail and you're trying to read it to figure out what am I supposed to do. So I think it's important for us to understand what are the levels of escalation. Face-to-face meeting will always remain the most impactful. Next comes video chat, then comes a phone call, then comes an email, and finally there's a WhatsApp message. So understand the levels of escalation, use them smartly, communicate effectively, and build your gravitas.
Right. So here, Sheetal, one more question. In your experience from leaders that you work with, for those who seem to have gotten it, right, or are becoming a role model or a benchmark to go to, right, what have you seen? Is it more um, practice over time? Is it that they've gotten feedback? Is it that they've gotten good mentors? What how do we get to that stage, right? For those who it's very important, like you rightly explain what it means and the relevance, right? But if I'm a young person, I would certainly may not be aware. But how do I do it? Is it what's your sort of way to get to that stage?
In first of all, it's a skill and not a trait. A trait is something that you're born with. A skill is something that you can learn. So you can learn it. When I see leaders who have executive presence, one, yeah, sure, they may be born with certain skills where you have a tendency to take on that role. Agreed. But the fact is that they have learned on the job. They have excellent mentors. They have observed world leaders, other leaders. Their quest for knowledge and learning is phenomenal. Display a lot of curiosity in learning new skills. They are open to feedback and changing and pivoting to a new course of action. So there is a lot of effort, and definitely practice makes perfect. So it's a combination of all these things. Anybody can develop it if they decide to. So the first step to any treatment is diagnosis. So diagnose and see, is this a skill you don't have or you have? Secondly, what are the aspects of the skill that you are naturally gifted with? Like many times people have an excellent voice. And I always tell them, I said, you're so good. Why don't you use this voice for modulation? And it's a revelation that they say, really? Now they didn't know that, right? Or sometimes people have a great presence. When they sit in a meeting, they take up a lot more space and you will not forget them. You will remember them even 3 months later. So understand your strengths and gaps and work on your gaps. We are all work in progress. And this is a skill that anybody can learn and pick up if they decide.